Joining in right now, we have Ruturaj Sinha. He's the Group MD of Security and Intelligence Services right here on ET Now. Good to have you on board. Good morning. Now, one has to acknowledge that despite the kind of slowdown that everyone is talking about, you managed to defy the trend, seeing a 6.2% average growth in the last 9 quarters to June. So what really has contributed to this, and how are you expanding your revenue base from the existing customers?
Well, thank you for having me. The reason for that 6.2% quarter-on-quarter growth for the last 9 odd quarters is principally because the demand for security services and facility management services is rather inelastic. I mean, we are a recession-resistant sector, you could call it that. I mean, if you look at global research across economies over the last 40 years, through economic cycles, the demand for these services has remained very resilient. It's not had a single year of degrowth in the last 40 years, which is quite tremendous. And that is predominantly because the demand.
No, my question is that are you gaining because the sectors which you are servicing are growing, or are you gaining market share? They're two different things. You may be serving an industry which was not there. No. As a result, your growth is there.
Not quite. I think the demand by itself is very resilient, and if you give me a moment, I'll explain. The demand is not just linked to the economic activity or economic growth. For example, increase in terror threat after what's happened in J&K recently has boosted demand. Government outsourcing has boosted demand, and it continues unaffected by the current economic slowdown. There is also, in times of slowdown, the risk of industrial unrest naturally goes up with layoffs and, shifts being cut, etc. So security, rather than being reduced by most industrial establishment, actually tends to go up. Let me give you a practical example. We've all been reading and talking a lot about the auto sector per se. Auto is almost 3 to 4% of our revenues on the security business. In the auto sector, even as the production is down, we haven't seen any major cuts on security budgets or security spends at the plant level. In fact, what's happened is that at the regional sales offices or the RSOs where they stock the finished product, the cars or the vehicles, the inventory lying there has suddenly shot up in the last few months. So they are actually spending more to secure, there's more cameras and guards to secure the RSOs or the inventory points. At dealerships as well, they are taking up additional land parcels to stock the inventory, which has meant in temporary spike in demand for security services. Let's take it further out to even the dealerships that shut down. The dealerships that had to close, even those dealerships have not removed the security personnel or the security cameras that they were using. So that probably will give you a deeper understanding of how the nature of demand in this space works.
Interesting. So tell me, what does this translate to? Because the last time we were chatting with you, you were aiming to capture, if I'm not mistaken, a double-digit market share for security and management services, including the use of, drones to inspect and map customer sites. That's very ambitious. Tell me, are you reworking your internal estimates, and would you actually revise them upwards then?
Well, at this point in time, I can say that while we are not recession resistant, we are not recession proof. So I mean, we are not revising any numbers upwards for sure. But having said that, we are relatively protected because we have only 4% market share in the security business, even as we are the #1 security services company in the country. We see that with labor reforms particularly, the code on wages has come, the code on statutory compliance is on the anvil, and the other 2 codes also, total 4 codes are going to be enacted and hopefully implemented in the next 2 years. We believe that as the labor market formalizes, the Indian security market consolidation will automatically happen because the pressure of compliance will create a level playing field, which means that the customers that are using unorganized, less compliant operators will start to opt for the organized players. If you see the global environment in the mature markets like the US or Australia, UK, the leading company in security, for example, would have 15 to 25% market share. But the market leader in India has only 4% market share, 4.5 maybe. So I think as the formalization sets in, there is a tremendous opportunity for us to consolidate market share.
Give me a sense on your cash flows. You know, the first thing which businessmen worry in a slowdown is that what is happening to the receivables. Has the slowdown impacted any of your cash flow payments? Because it's, you know, in a country like India, Ruturaj, I frankly feel that it's very easy to grow. Demand is huge. The sector which you represent is underpenetrated. Everybody wants better service, better security. But so it's easy to take service, but in a slowdown, it's difficult to pay up for the bills.
No, absolutely agree with that. I think if you look at our numbers, it's quite evident that the working capital employed in the businesses across security, cash logistics and facility management has shot up in the last 6 months or so. I mean, traditionally, you know, Q4 is a strong collection cycle for us. Q1 is a little slower, but we have witnessed, you know, increase in working capital, which is a little different. This is a function of the liquidity situation across industries, and as I told you earlier, you know, security and facility management is sector agnostic. We work with everything from auto to cement to steel to petrol, telecom, oil and gas. You name a sector and they need security and facility management and cash logistics. So yes, you are absolutely right that we are witnessing a 4 to 6 day increase on the DSO cycle across businesses as a result of the prevailing conditions.
So, closing comments. You said that you have 4% market share and the scope for you to grow higher is very large. What is the size of the market? How much is the organized sector you know, making up the market, and what is the organized player making up of the market?
Well, as per a recent PwC report and also the GST deposit data, I think the size of the security market alone is greater than $10 billion, and it's growing at 15-20% year on year, which makes it a very unique market by itself, because there isn't any other market in the global environment that is 10 billion in absolute size and continues to grow 15-20%. So it's a good market to be. We also have a great headroom in terms of market share. But I think what's most unique about SIS is the fact that we are very well hedged, in the sense that we are not just a security operator, we are the number 2 facility management operator in the country. That by itself is a very, very large play. I mean, if the security spend of a building is X rupees per month, the facility management spend of the same institution or building would be probably 3x. So that's also a massive market that we address. And I think, you know, recently that I've been talking to a lot of investors, I've been saying, you know, people have generally seen our international business as a drag on our portfolio. But, you know, the fact that SIS gets 40% of its EBITDA from overseas markets in current times of slowdown in the Indian economy actually is working out better for us, because the cash flows from international operations, the profitability of international operations is sort of continuing to stabilize our overall numbers. So I think, you know, it's generally a good outlook for us at the moment.
Appreciate you taking the time out, joining in, giving us a view on how the security market is pegged, your targets, market shares, as well as revenue growth.